Admitting that infamous laptop uncovered before the 2020 election was in fact his, but claiming the contents from that computer were illegally revealed. All of it coming as House Republicans are set to hold their first hearing into President Biden and his family's business dealings next week. The New York Post summing it up on its front page today, saying, quote, "It's mine." Let's bring in Miranda Devine, New York Post columnist and a Fox News contributor. She's also the author of The Laptop from Hell, Hunter Biden, Big Tech, and the Dirty Secrets the President Tried to Hide. Miranda, welcome to you. You've been reporting on this for years, as we mentioned. We know that this briefing is underway at the White House. Karine Jean-Pierre is set to take questions from reporters. To what extent, to bring this to this moment, to what extent do you believe the White House will provide any transparency, any answers on this revelation?
Well, I mean, zero. We've seen the complete lack of transparency from this White House from the get-go, despite the promises of Joe Biden, and particularly when it comes to his classified documents. Karine Jean-Pierre will always defer to, the lawyers or the DOJ or anybody else but herself. She just has her very basic talking points. So we'll get nothing out of the White House, but it must be a headache behind the scenes for the people in Biden's team to have Hunter Biden out there freelancing with oodles of cash he seems to have to pay very expensive lawyers to go out and file these frivolous lawsuits.
Okay.
Or I don't know, lawsuits, but certainly frivolous letters.
Okay. I believe Karine Jean-Pierre, Miranda, if you could stay with us. Karine Jean-Pierre is taking her first question. We're going to dip in and see where this goes, and we'll get back to you.
It's because you heard it from the speaker himself. It was a good discussion. It was going to be a continuing conversation that they're going to have, and there are real discussions to continue as it relates to the American people. When you look at the deficit more broadly and how we need to continue to lower the deficit, and what the president has done the last 2 years. You've heard me talk about that many times from the podium, and we have said very loud and clear to the speaker, if he has any ideas on how to work together on that, we're willing to listen and work in good faith. But look, as it relates, as I've always said, when it comes to lifting the debt ceiling, that is a completely separate issue, and that has not changed. You saw that from our readout yesterday. You've heard this from me. You heard it from the president. You've heard it from Brian Deese and others in this administration, that we need to do that without conditions. The debt ceiling needs to be lifted without conditions, and so we still stand by that. That has not changed. We truly believe it is a constitutional duty of Congress, Republican, Democrats, Independents, to get that done, as we have seen this done 78 times before since 1960.
But given the optimism, I understand you don't want to, you're not going to detail negotiations because this is an ongoing process, but should we take that there were potential areas of agreement that were identified here?
Look, I'm not going to speak for the speaker. I'm certainly am not his spokesperson, but President Biden has made it very clear that it is up to Congress to live out their congressional duty to avoid an economic catastrophe as it relates to a default. Like, we've been very clear on that. And he even said, the speaker, as you just mentioned, Mary, I think you were alluding to this, we're not going to negotiate in public on anything that is related, right, to fiscal responsibility and what it is that they want to move forward with, the House Republicans, what is it their plan is going to be. What the president has said, he's been clear on the debt ceiling. It should be done without conditions. He's willing and ready to discuss how we can lower costs.
Okay, so we're going to keep monitoring that. And again, we're going to get back in. Miranda Devine is still with us. And Miranda, I want to get to some breaking news here, because this revelation and this admission really from Hunter Biden's lawyers that the laptop was indeed his. It is now, that notion is being challenged by Hunter Biden's lawyers. And this is just into us, Miranda. So I'll read it out loud. This is Abby Lowell saying, quote, "These letters," forgive me for a second here, "these letters do not confirm Mac Isaac's or others' versions of a so-called laptop. They address their conduct of seeking, manipulating, and disseminating what they allege to be Mr. Biden's personal data, wherever they claim to have gotten it." So it seems they're walking back that admission in that letter that this was indeed Hunter Biden's laptops, saying this is not an admission. Your response, your reaction?
Yeah, this is something that Hunter Biden's sugar brother, Kevin Morris, has been running for quite a long time. He has a very elaborate conspiracy theory, which I can't really even grasp. They're just getting themselves tangled up into all sorts of knots. And, you know, I'm surprised that that law firm, which is supposed to be, you know, very prestigious, very expensive, would allow itself to be made a laughingstock of, because what you just read out is absurd. I mean, either they want the Delaware Attorney General to investigate people basically purloining Hunter Biden's private data, he says unlawfully accessing his laptop, or they don't, or it's not his laptop. You know, Hunter Biden himself is confused about this. He's been on interviews saying, oh, yes, it could be my laptop, it might be my laptop, it might have been stolen, etc. You know, it's incontrovertible that it's his laptop.
Yeah. Regardless of all of that, if you will, this is what we have heard from lawmakers over the course of months now, especially when we interview them right here on this program, Miranda, saying when it comes down to this investigation of Hunter Biden and the laptop, this is really about the family affairs and about investigating Joe Biden himself. Listen.
The overall investigation is about Biden family influence peddling, but we're very concerned about the return on the investment that our adversaries around the world were expecting to get with respect to the millions of dollars that they were transferring into the various Biden accounts.
Never forget also the money. I mean, China gives, supposedly been reported, China gives big money to the University of Pennsylvania. China gives big money, millions of dollars to the Penn Biden Center.
We're going to have a great opportunity now to investigate all of these issues as it relates to the Biden family.
So that was just over the course of the last few weeks, what we have heard from lawmakers about what this is really about, Miranda. And you saw Jim Jordan there a second ago. He tweeted this a few moments ago, and we can put it on the screen for our viewers. Hunter Biden just admitted that his laptop belonged to him. How can that be, he asks. 51 intelligence officials, in quotations, told us it was misinformation. So how have we gotten to this point, Miranda?
Well, there are a lot of liars, I guess, in powerful positions. Joe Biden himself, before the 2020 election, in the last debate he had with Donald Trump, dismissed the laptop as a Russian plant. And he cited that letter, that dishonest letter written by 51 former high-level intelligence officials, including 5 former CIA directors or acting directors, who said that the Russian, that the laptop was or had all the earmarks of a Russian information operation. They seem to think there's something different between saying it was Russian disinformation. That's not how it was read by anybody, and it was not how the letter was intended to be read. It was intended to be used by Joe Biden, who had to get up on the debate stage a couple of days later to answer what we had published in our first story that was censored on the say-so of the FBI by big tech, by Twitter and Facebook. They were terrified that the truth was going to come out before the 2020 election about the Biden family influence peddling scheme. And James Comer is 100% right. This is not about Hunter Biden. This is about Joe Biden. It's about his involvement in his son, his brothers, both brothers, influence peddling scheme that they internationalized out of Delaware when he was vice president.
Miranda Devine, thank you very much for joining us on that. We will continue to follow your reporting on this.